Hey guys, take two. Twitter stopped responding. We've got headlines. 19,000 unaccompanied illegal alien children dumped in Tennessee. A broken democracy. RINOs rally behind moderate candidates in new PAC. Hazlewood blocks constituent comments, and her conservative challenger sees signs vandalized and stolen. A Tennessee county court is officially promoting gay pride this month by overseeing a mass name change for all LGBTQ adults. Governor Lee endorses 2024 GOP candidates for Tennessee House and Senate, most of which are RINOs. And Nashville judge requires court appearance for media organization over release of information for the Covenant School Shooters Manifesto, which means this cover-up continues to happen. And the Biden DOJ cuts a deal with progressive Shelby County DA to cease prosecution for aggravated prostitution in Shelby County as HIV rates skyrocket. You can't make this stuff up. It's Brandon Lewis here with the Tennessee Conservative News, the state's largest conservative news alternative, where we bring you the truth the mainstream media ain't gonna bring you, and that the corporately funded RINO establishment hopes you never discover. I apologize. This is take two, guys. We had some issues. Said Twitter quit responding. I don't know. Maybe it's angry at me. Many people are. Guys, do go to TennesseeConservativeNews.com. Hit that subscribe button. You can also text the word news to 423-205-5600. That is 423-205-5600. And follow us on Twitter. Hit that like button, the follow button, and share our content all across the social media channels where we have not been shadow banned, including Gab, Getter, Truth, Rumble, and MeWe. Guys, we got all kinds of stories here. But before I get into those, let me update you on our website. As many of you know, we're redoing the website because it is old, it is clunky, it is broken. You may have seen that it went out a few weeks ago. Sometimes the images disappear, and we've spent more money trying to patch the thing than we would have spent replacing it. And so many of you have given to the effort to redo the website. We could not have done it without you, and we're almost to our goal. So if you would go to TennesseeConservativeNews.com/support, hit that support button, and mail your checks to P.O. Box 625, Signal Mountain, Tennessee 37377. Let's get right into the stories. 19,000 unaccompanied alien children. That's not accompanied. Imagine how many accompanied have come to Tennessee since 2015. New data states that most of the 19,000 children coming to Tennessee have been placed with family members like a parent sibling, with a vast majority arriving since 2020. The placement of unaccompanied alien children made headlines in Tennessee 3 years ago when news reports emerged of the abuse of some of the children placed in a Chattanooga facility. We broke that story. Bill Lee is the one that authorized it. Kids were molested and lost. You can't make this stuff up. There are also reports of late-night flights to Chattanooga transporting children to Tennessee around the same time, prompting state Republicans to make a lot of noise and to hold a committee meeting, but do abso-freaking-lutely nothing to stop it. And that's been going on for 4 years, really probably a decade. The UACs have ended up in many of the state's counties, but slightly less than half have ended up in Middle Tennessee counties, specifically Nashville and Murfreesboro. The data comes from the New York Times, who got it from the federal government. So if you think that the New York Times and the federal government are going to tell you the truth about these numbers, you're crazy. It means the numbers are probably 3 or 4 times higher than what are reported, as I don't trust the Times or the federal government to tell us the truth. And they use this information to publish a series of stories talking about how many of the children ended up in bad situations, but that the struggle is just humanitarian, and that if you say illegal mass transportation of illegal alien children or that illegal immigration in general is bad for the country, that you're a hateful bigot. That's the news. 96% of accompanied alien children in Tennessee have come from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, and all these Republicans have done nothing about it despite the screams of GOP primary voters all this session and the session before, and so many of them are running for re-election. We're going to send out a voter guide here before you know it, because most of these incumbents, not all, most of these incumbents need to be replaced. They need to be replaced by anybody. A rock on the side of the road, a dead polecat, because they would have a more conservative record than these guys, and they might actually do something about illegal immigration in Tennessee. Next story, a broken democracy. It's broken, right? Tennessee Political Action Group to fund moderate candidates from both sides of the aisle. Translation, Let's get a bunch of RINOs elected so we can do the bidding of corporate America. Launched on April of this year, a nonpartisan group of the best of Tennessee. I wonder who gets to pick the best. A Knoxville area attorney, Chloe Akers, attempted to, quote, fight extremism and back moderate political candidates in support of abortion access, Medicaid expansion, and anti-Second Amendment legislation in Tennessee. Now, does this sound nonpartisan or does this sound liberal? The organization consists of 3 different parts: the Best of Tennessee Incorporated, which is registered as a 501c4 nonprofit; the Best of Tennessee Victory Fund, a PAC for recruiting and backing candidates that make, quote, effective leaders; and the Best of Tennessee Action Fund, a super PAC for using independent expenditures to back candidates. Akers stated in the press release the new board of directors is an example of how Republicans and Democrats come together, blah, blah, blah. Here's a kicker. Former Hamilton County Mayor Jim Coppinger is on this board. Jim Coppinger is the size of a walrus. He looks just like one. You should look up a picture of Jim Coppinger. He looks like a walrus. And during the pandemic here in Hamilton County, Tennessee, Chattanooga, he was like one of the only Republican county mayors that wanted us locked down, that wanted the mask mandates, that pushed all the contract tracing. Jim Coppinger's not a conservative. He's barely a Republican. He's a government animal. Okay, a very large government animal. And while he couldn't make his own good health decisions, he decided that everybody in Hamilton County should take his advice, all of which turned out to be wrong. Vaccines didn't stop transmission. The mask didn't stop transmission. Social distancing was made up. But Coppinger allowed our kids to go through what they did in all these small businesses. It's amazing. Man has no conservative moorings or any moorings at all as far as I can see. Other board members include Mike McWhorter, the 2010 Democrat nominee for governor and son of former Tennessee Democrat Governor Ned McWhorter. Conservative voters may want to keep the Best of Tennessee in mind as they sift through campaign contribution lists for GOP candidates. I would say this: if you see this gun control pro-abortion group with Jim Coppinger on it, Jim, do people know in Hamilton County that you're on this board for pro-gun control and abortion? They ought to know. They ought to know by now what your record is. I see you at all these little Republican get-togethers. Apparently they still, take the forklift up and put you out there. I don't know why. I have no idea. All right, guys. Representative Patsy Hazlewood blocks constituent comments. Conservative challenger Michele Reneau's sign stolen and vandalized. In the middle of an election year, Representative Patsy Hazlewood is allegedly blocking constituent comments. Not allegedly, I've seen it. From appearing on her social media pages because they link to a website about her voting record. Now listen. If your voting record is awesome, shouldn't you be singing it to the rooftop? I want illegal aliens to have professional licenses. I think we should have sanctuary cities. I believe that you should have to have a vaccine passport to go to a government facility for entertainment. Like if you're really proud of your voting record, why would you delete people telling it? The fact is she's not, because she does it in secret and then she lies when she campaigns. However, in March of this year, the U.S. Supreme Court unanimously ruled that there are circumstances when government officials can permissibly block constituents from their social media pages, provided they're not claiming to speak on the state's behalf. However, appellate courts a few years ago, including July 9, 2019 ruling from a second court of appeals, stated that the former President Trump could not legally block people on social media without penalty of violating their First Amendment rights. Which is it? We don't know. Now, according to our source, RINO incumbent Hazlewood is blocking the discourse of multiple constituents who penned comments criticizing her track record. According to reports from her conservative challenger, I hear you, Rocco. Rocco's not even happy about this. According to reports from her challenger, Michele Reneau's campaign, hundreds of unique primary voters are visiting howpatsyvotes.com every day to learn more about some of her terrible voting records. And I've watched the signs disappeared up on Signal Mountain and other places. So, I watch a lot of detective shows because my wife likes watching detective shows. There's a thing called motive. Motive almost always points to the crime. Who has the motive to remove all this stuff about Patsy Hazlewood's voting record? Patsy Hazlewood and her cronies who want to keep one of the most liberal state reps in power. Next story. A Tennessee county court is officially promoting Pride Month by overseeing a mass name change for LGBTQ adults. I'm going to say gay moving forward because that's just too many syllables. Davidson County probate judge Andra Hedrick, sounds great, it sounds about right, Davidson County, of the 7th Circuit Court presides over a matters field of probate court, including adult and minor name changes in observance of Pride Month, will be overseeing a mass name change for LGBTQ adults. The legal name change event is on the docket for June 28th at 1:30 p.m., having been scheduled specifically in recognition of Pride Month. That's what we need, the judiciary pushing this garbage. People wonder why folks distrust the courts and judges, and you see how the judicial system has been weaponized to prosecute Donald Trump, and then you see this crap here in Tennessee. You think you can get a fair shake in this lady's court if you're a conservative, or if it seems like you've got any leanings that are constitutional? I doubt it. Gender dysphoric individuals, or those who do not wish to conform to the gender they were born with, often legally change their names in order to more closely align with the imaginary whatever they're doing. I mean, it ain't gonna be long before this lady's gonna be mass naming these people dogs and cats and toaster ovens. It's just coming, right? We've detached ourselves from reality, and by supporting this, which we know from all the evidence is harmful to the individuals who embrace it, she's doing more harm than good. However, a new law that went into effect last July restricts the changing of gender markers on official identification documents, etc. Oh, good grief. This is the kind of crap we got going on in Tennessee. Guys, do go to TennesseeConservativeNews.com, hit that support button. Help us rebuild this website bigger and better than ever. Mail your checks to P.O. Box 625, Signal Mountain, Tennessee 37377. We need your support. We can't do it without you. We don't take corporate money. We don't take campaign ads and then write editorials that are positive for terrible candidates. We won't do that. We tell you the truth. And the only way we can keep doing it is if folks like you support us. Go to TennesseeConservativeNews.com/support. And we're going to have some new swag coming up soon. I think you're going to like it. It's been cooking up. More to follow. Next story. Governor Lee endorses 2024 GOP candidates for Tennessee House and Senate. After the 2024 election season continues to unfold, Governor Lee has taken the time to endorse several GOP candidates, and some of them are terrible. Here we go. Governor Lee publicly announced his endorsement of Jason Emmert for the House 20 Blount County and Lee Reeves for Williamson County. Anybody that supports anybody running in District 20 against Brian Ritchie is a rhino. Ritchie has gone up there and freaking fought for things that everybody else doesn't want to talk about. Illegal immigration being on the forefront of it, medical freedom issues. What are we going to take these rhino stand-ins that Lee recommends and replace a conservative? I don't think so. Lee Reeves for House District 65 in Williamson County, Aaron Mayberry, I don't know these guys in Montgomery. Known incumbents to have been backed by are Senator Farrell Hale. Farrell Hale's the guy that pushed puberty blockers for kids. Puberty blockers for kids. That's what Governor Lee says is really conservative. It's got his full support. John Lundberg, who voted to give illegal aliens professional licenses, along with Bill Lee. That's the kind of person that you really want to go. John Lundberg, who said that corporations should be able to force you to get a vaccine, and oh, by the way, they have no liability if you get harmed, and neither do the manufacturers. John Lundberg, the guy who has voted over and over again to grow government by 98% since he's been in office, increasing spending 13 times. John Lundberg. That's who Governor Lee thinks is good, and he does have a couple of people that are pretty decent. Scott Sapicki and John Reagan. I like both of these guys. On average, I would consider them to be conservative. But I tell you what, I wouldn't want Bill Lee endorsing me any more than I'd want Joe Biden. All right, guys, August primary. Make sure you do your research again. We're going to have a voter guide coming out telling you who to vote for and who not to vote for. And a lot of them, we're just going to tell you, if it were me, I would just write in. If you've got an incumbent who's a rhino, we don't need to vote for them. Just write in a real conservative. That's what you should do. That's what I'm going to do. On all these rhinos that are running, I'm just going to write in a real conservative. And let's see how many of those across the state we can get written in. Maybe we can send a message to some of these incumbents that the next time around, they may not be in office. Next story. Nashville judge requires court appearance for media organization over release of information from Covenant School Shooters Manifesto. This is a cover up. Phil Williams, the corporately funded media, the Nashville police, the Covenant parents that don't want the truth to get out there. used this whole incident Bill Lee did to try to push gun control, and a lot of these guys voted for this red flag gun law bill so mental health professionals can more easily take away your Second Amendment rights, but we're not allowed to look and see why the person did the crime. We're not making illegal the things that caused this person to get in such a mental state to cause the crime, which is a liberal indoctrination experiment gone wrong. That's what the lady was. Let's get into it. A Tennessee judge is requiring that the parent organization of the Tennessee Star appear in court to defend itself after the release of information from 80 pages alleged to be from the manifesto of a Covenant school shooter. I thought the truth would set you free. I thought the justice system depended on the truth being out there. National Chancellor Aisha Miles has ordered Star News Digital, along with editor-in-chief Michael Leahy, to appear in court on June 17th. Miles says the organization must explain how the recent publication of certain purported documents and information are not a violation of court orders. The judge noted the parties have been told to, quote, not directly form or reproduce any leaked documents. The Tennessee Star argues they did not violate court orders because they released information but did not publish the documents or images themselves. Deborah Fisher, executive director of the Tennessee Coalition for Open Government, says, quote, this should raise First Amendment issues as parties argue over the rights of media and the extent of control that a judge has in such cases. Closed-circuit transmission to Aisha, old Aisha Miles. You know what it says in the Tennessee Constitution? It says that the General Assembly shall make no laws infringing the freedom of the press to report on their government. None. Freaking none. It's in the Tennessee Constitution, just as it is in the federal Constitution. But these judges want to hamstring our constitutional rights so they can control narratives. What a bunch of BS. The Tennessee Star is one of several petitioners in a public records case surrounding the documents. The city of Nashville has maintained they're under no obligation to release documents while an investigation is taking place, but petitioners argue there's no criminal investigation because the shooter was killed by police. Now, Metro Nashville is investigating to determine the source of the leak. How about investigating to figure out why the hell this stuff happened and how to prevent it? We live in bizarro world. We have let our country and our state go to pot. And in this August primary coming up, you need to get out and vote. And you need to get out and vote for real conservatives. Because there's a headwind coming. And if we don't have people with strong conservative moorings, if we keep electing these people that during 2020 sold our constitutional rights down the river for a little bit of corporate and federal money and power, we keep those people in power, do you think that we can keep Tennessee conservative and red? Or do you think we're going to go the way of Georgia? You be the judge. Next story. Biden DOJ cuts deal with progressive Shelby County DA to cease prosecutions for aggravated prostitution in Shelby County as HIV rates skyrocket. Public health crisis is what it sounds like. When we shut the whole world down for COVID, if we got HIV spreading like crazy, you think they'd get all over that? Nah. That's just a disease caused by a sinful nature. No reason to stop that. No reason to halt that. Biden's Department of Justice has announced they have entered into a deal with Shelby County DA Steve Mulroy, I bet this guy's real tough on crime, to cease enforcement of Tennessee criminal code that prosecutes those who are arrested for prostitution while knowingly afflicted with HIV virus. The Department of Justice accused Shelby County of violating Americans with Disabilities Act by targeting sex workers who have HIV. These aren't people in wheelchairs. These aren't the blind or the deaf. These are people who are breaking the law and irreparably harming, I guess, the people that are purchasing their services in a knowing way. That's a protected class. You go try to do something as a conservative that would negatively impact somebody's life as much as giving them HIV, and you see if the Biden DOJ comes down to do something to stop that. Senator Brent Taylor sent a letter, probably sternly worded, as all of them are, to Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Smetty asking for the intervention in the matter. He said it's the second time in a couple of years that Shelby County has been enabled to stop enforcement of Tennessee law. According to the Shelby County Health Department, in 2018, HIV rates increased 40%. How's that even possible? In those 15 to 19 years old, and an increase of 36% in the entire population. The DOJ Shelby County DA, after recent reports, the Shelby County Health Department showing that there's an alarming increase. I wish there was more positive news to report. Buddy, I dig for it. We used to try to put the good news section at the end of the Big Seven. where we might find Republicans doing something conservative, and might as well wait for Haley's Comet to come back around. Guys, Brandon Lewis, the Tennessee Conservative News, I hope that is all cheering to you. But it should be cheering because you can actually do something about all this mess with your vote on August 1st. And I'd also say your money. If you have not contributed to a conservative candidate, if you haven't written a $100,000, $2,500 check to a conservative candidate your entire life in state government, get off your wallet, get off the couch, go knock on a door, go make a phone call, allay your guilty conscience. If you ever look around at Tennessee 15, 20 years from now and say, what happened? And if you look back at your calendar and wallet and see that you've invested no time or money, you haven't. Conservative Christians can't sit on the sidelines during this upcoming primary race because the primary will determine the direction of the state. Get out there, find conservative candidates, even if they're not in your freaking district, and support them. If you want to support them and you don't know how, email me, Brandon at TennesseeConservativeNews.com. I'll tell you who the ones are. I'll tell you. Might take me a little while to get back to you. I'm going out of town. All right, guys, what's the Lewis family doing this weekend? The only reason people listen to this podcast is not for the news. It's so that they can live vicariously through me because I've got such an exciting life. It is typically pretty boring, but I'm going to admit over the next week it's going to be kind of exciting. So, I have a client. I don't make any money off the Tennessee Conservative News. I make my money coaching contractors. I used to own a big construction outfit, sold it, and now I teach other people how to do the same. And this gentleman just had a remarkable transition, not the kind that the Democrats want you to have. But in his business, he went from losing money in a big business to making money in one of the most difficult transitions I've ever seen that required a lot of willpower. So he is getting married in Philadelphia. And so my wife and my 2 children are going to hot-foot it up to Philadelphia. And while we're there, we're going to stay 5 or 6 days. And we're going to take our kids to the Liberty Bell. We're going to take our kids to Independence Hall, Ben Franklin Museum. I want them to know the origins of our country and its founding and why it's so freaking exceptional. You ask most kids walking around the street how many branches there are in the federal government. What type of publishing or papers led to the American Revolution? Who did we get our independence from? How was the Constitution written? They can't tell you. You know why? Because they're products of government indoctrination camps here in Tennessee. They can't tell you. They don't know what makes us special. They don't have a sense of pride. They leave public education with this sense that somehow the United States is a terrible place to live with an awful founding. I don't want my kids to grow up like that. So we are getting on a plane and we're going to go have some fun in Philadelphia and also experience a little bit of culture and education so my kids hopefully can continue the fight that their father is fighting right now. And I would say to those of you that have kids and grandkids, if you don't get politically involved, if you don't tell them about our culture, if you don't tell them about our history, if they don't see you physically spending time and money making things different or better, even when it costs you a little bit, even when it's difficult, they are not going to do it either. You can't just consume Fox News and listen to 1,000 podcasts and read a bunch of books and think that things are going to change in Tennessee. There's no place left to run. So that's why you and I have to be an example in both our action and our education for our kids so that they can protect this country and this state. Guys, Brandon Lewis here at the Tennessee Conservative News. Thank you for being with me on this Take 2 edition. It's the one we're going to run with. If you need me, if you have questions, email Brandon at TennesseeConservativeNews.com. I love you guys. Thank you for spending time with me. Thank you for relying upon us as your news source of choice in the state of Tennessee. Spread the word. If you know somebody who's a conservative and they're not on our list, send them the subscribe link. Send them the Twitter link. Get them educated before the primary, guys. If we work together, we can see a sea change in Tennessee government and legislature. And I know it can happen, but we need you in the trenches. Guys, take care. Until next time, old BL signing off.